Hi, I'm Danwin.
And I'm Anu.
And we're from Safe Work New South Wales. Thanks for joining us for our second webinar in our essential series on understanding, preventing, and responding to workplace sexual harassment.
In our last session, we covered the basics. What workplace sexual harassment is, its causes, who it affects, and the role of Safe Work New South Wales. Today, we are going a step further. We'll provide you with the knowledge to help you prevent sexual harassment in your workplace using the work health and safety approach. This webinar is for business owners, duty holders, and workers with responsibility for health and safety in their workplace. In this webinar, we'll cover how the New South Wales Work Health and Safety laws applies to sexual harassment and what this means for your business. The 4-step risk management framework you can use in your business to prevent sexual harassment. A closer look at measures you can take to control the risk of sexual harassment at work, including practical examples. Finally, we'll discuss the importance of consulting with your workers when designing and implementing control measures.
Today's topic can be particularly sensitive for those who have experienced, witnessed, or know someone who has been sexually harassed. Feel free to take a break, and if you need support, reach out to your workplace if you're comfortable doing so. If you prefer to seek support outside of your workplace, you can contact 1-800-RESPECT on 1-800-737-732. Included with the resources list for this webinar is an information sheet which provides further details of organizations you can contact for support. Now, let's get started.
As the state's work health and safety regulator, our job is to enforce work health and safety laws. But what exactly is it, and how does it apply to workplace sexual harassment? The New South Wales Work Health and Safety Act and regulations set out the legal obligations for employers, workers, and others to secure the health and safety of people at work. The Act states that employers have the responsibility, so far as is reasonably practicable, to eliminate or, where not possible, minimize any risk related to health and safety in the workplace. When we say reasonably practicable, it means doing what you're reasonably able to do to ensure the health and safety of your workers. Failure to meet these obligations could result in fines, compliance notices, and prosecutions. In addition to the Work Health and Safety Act, the Federal Sex Discrimination Act requires proactive action to eliminate workplace sexual harassment, enforced by the Australian Human Rights Commission. We've included a positive duties explainer document with the resources for this webinar that explains the differences between these obligations. Now you understand your business's obligation to prevent sexual harassment in your workplace. So how do you get started?
The Work Health and Safety Risk Management Framework is a 4-step process you can use to help create a safe work environment. Step 1 starts with identifying the health and safety risks in your workplace that are reasonably foreseeable, that is, likely to happen. Workplace sexual harassment often has underlying causes, such as poor workplace cultures or uneven power structures. Identifying and addressing these underlying issues will be necessary to properly address sexual harassment. If you would like to learn more about this, please watch Webinar 1, where we discuss in more detail some of these underlying causes. Once the risks have been identified, the second step is to assess them. How likely are they to occur, and how severe would the impact be if they were to occur? Consider if there are any measures in place currently to address the risks, and which people would be affected by these risks. Step 3, controlling the risk. At this stage, you'll need to plan and put into action strategies to address the risks. These strategies are called control measures, and they are a key element in the prevention of workplace sexual harassment. We'll come back to talk more about control measures later in the webinar. The fourth and final step is to assess the effectiveness of the control measures. That is, making sure the action you're taking is working. As a business, you should undertake regular reviews of your control measures in consultation with your workers to ensure they are still effective as your work environment evolves and changes over time. It's important that all steps include consultation with your workers, which we'll cover later in the webinar.
Now, let's go back to control measures, what they are and how they can be used. We'll start with an example. Staff from a retail store have reported being sexually harassed by customers. The store owner has recognized and assessed this to be a serious work health and safety risk and is now looking to implement control measures to eliminate or minimize this risk. Some control measures they might implement could be making changes to rosters to ensure staff are not working alone at night, communicating with staff that there is a zero tolerance policy for sexual harassment. This might include having visible posters in the store, training employees to stand up for themselves against aggressive or intimidating customers with management support, knowing that the customer may not always be right. These examples are not exhaustive, nor will they be appropriate for all retail stores. Each workplace is different, and identifying risks and implementing control measures is the responsibility of your workplace because you and your workers know your business best. Under Clause 55D of the Work Health and Safety Regulations, an employer must consider a range of factors when implementing control measures, including the duration, frequency, and severity of the risk, as well as how the risk may be impacted by other psychosocial risks. Some control measure themes to help you identify and group the control measures your business requires include leadership and governance. Leaders that show their commitment to tackling sexual harassment set the standard for what is acceptable in your workplace. This may include talking about the issue at team meetings or in staff updates and modeling respectful attitudes themselves. Workplace culture. Building a positive culture in your workplace is vital as it sets the tone for what is acceptable behavior. A workplace where there is disrespect, conflict, and a tendency to ignore work health and safety issues may lead to an increased risk of sexual harassment. To evaluate your own workplace culture, consider these questions. Are sexist jokes excused as just having a bit of a laugh? Are reports of harassment not taken seriously? Is there an expectation for staff to simply tolerate inappropriate behavior? Answering yes to any of these may indicate a problem with your workplace culture. Education. Education is essential to equip employees with the knowledge and skills to recognize, prevent, and respond to sexual harassment. Key considerations for any training include ensuring it occurs regularly, not just during onboarding or after an incident, making it available to all staff, not just certain groups, and ensuring training talks about preventing sexual harassment and not just what to do after it has happened.
Reporting and support. Ensure your workers know how to report sexual harassment by providing clear, timely, confidential, and safe reporting pathways. Include alternative options for those who do not wish to report to their manager. Offer support, such as an employee assistance program, to employees who have experienced or witnessed harassment. Measurement and business reporting is crucial to understanding the prevalence and risk of sexual harassment in your workplace. Regular and anonymous staff surveys, worker consultations, and KPI target setting can help track performance. This approach helps identify areas of concern, enabling targeted improvements to prevent sexual harassment. Policies and procedures are a good starting point for preventing sexual harassment, even though they alone are often not enough. These documents set expectations for organizational and personal behavior. Effective policies are actively implemented, are communicated throughout the business, and consequences for policy breaches are followed through consistently and transparently. They should be integrated with educational activities and reviewed regularly.
Work design. Work design refers to how work is done, including tasks, responsibilities, relationships, processes, and workflows. To prevent sexual harassment through work design, consider why a task is done a certain way and if it poses a work health and safety risk. If a risk is identified, look at ways to redesign the work to eliminate or minimize it as much as possible. Examples include emptying rubbish bins in the morning instead of at night, removing sexual innuendo from sales scripts, meeting clients in accessible public environments like in the office with other colleagues.
Finally, the physical environment can significantly impact the likelihood of sexual harassment. Inadequate consideration of the work environment can create conditions where harassment occurs more easily, severely, and unnoticed. Control measures should account for the physical environment to prevent harassment. Examples include using clear or semi-opaque glass or screens to improve visibility in offices, storerooms, and segregated areas, restricting public access to areas where workers are alone or work at night with security cards or codes, ensuring worker facilities and amenities provide privacy and security, such as separate staff toilets and secure changing rooms, designing the workplace layout to allow workers to perform tasks and move freely without physical contact. Think of these examples as a starting point, showing you that preventing sexual harassment is achievable with the right measures in place. You have the power to take action and stop it. Remember, though, that every workplace is different. It's up to you, and in consultation with your workers, to identify your hazards and risks and then put the measures in place to control them. Now let's talk more about worker consultation.
Consultation with workers provide a collaborative and inclusive approach to addressing workplace sexual harassment risks. All employers have a duty to consult, as far as is reasonably practicable, with all workers who carry out work and who are likely to be directly affected by a health and safety matter. In particular, consultation is required when the employer is conducting risk management activities. Consultation involves sharing information, giving workers the opportunity to express their views before making decisions, and advising your workers of the outcomes of any consultation in a timely and appropriate manner. Workers, particularly those in frontline roles, often have valuable insights into the specific risks and issues present in the workplace environment. Consulting them when designing control measures can ensure they are both practical and effective. Involving your workers in the process can also increase buy-in from them and demonstrates your commitment to worker well-being, encouraging them to actively contribute to a safer workplace. Given the sensitivity of this topic, consultation should be done in a safe and respectful manner, taking into consideration the potential distress it may cause. For example, a group discussion may not be the most appropriate way to encourage sharing. Instead, an anonymous survey that allows for open suggestions or informal one-on-one meetings may be more appropriate.
As we conclude, remember, workplace sexual harassment is preventable, and that under work health and safety law, businesses must address risks of sexual harassment. Using a risk management approach and through active consultation with your workers can assist to identify and tackle the risks in your workplace. For more tools, resources, and advice on this topic, please visit our website.
In our final webinar in the Essential series, we'll focus on the response. What to do if someone reports sexual harassment to you? What to do if you witness it? And how to support someone who has been sexually harassed. Join us next time as we continue working together to prevent workplace sexual harassment.